with Rob Blake. He's going to speak about his story and tell us basically what's been going on. We've been waiting to hear this for quite a while. Tonight we are joined by Corey and Gons. Say hello, boys.
Say hello, yeah.
Hello, say hello. Robert.
Right.
Hello, everyone.
We're actually going to go solo. Rob's going to do this solo on screen tonight, guys. So I'm going to put him on, and he's going to crack on. Right. So I'm just going to mute us. If you want leave some comments, please leave them in the comment section, and behave yourselves. Don't be horrible. Right. Grant's muted. Corey's muted. I'll be muted in a second. Rob, I'm just going to send you to solo. And you can welcome everyone in. There you go, Rob.
All right, good evening. Thanks for taking the time out of your Sunday evening to have a quick listen to what I've got to say. So basically, my talk's going to be in a couple of bits, but about 10 minutes. So, no, 10, 15 minutes. So hopefully you don't fall asleep. So basically, what I want to do is just start with my background and my understanding of mental health. So prior to 2016, my understanding of mental health was just get on with it. It's a myth. It's not real. Put your big boy pants on and get on with it, so to speak. And then there was some situations that changed my opinion of mental health. So my brother lived out in Ireland. He became addicted to drugs and alcohol. It's not going to be easy for some people to hear that, but that's the crux of it. He got himself into a bit of bother, and it led him to a dark place. He asked for help, and I was unable to help him because I had my various opinions of it. And then I received a call at about 1:30 in the morning, which changed my life forever. The call was basically saying that my brother had taken his own life and that I was a victim of suicide. You know, that's a phrase that people that have lost loved ones through suicide use, a victim of suicide as such. He'd taken his own life by way of hanging, and it was difficult, you know. So that's when I realised then that mental health is a real thing and that it can affect everybody. So my little brother was a good-looking fella. He was good at his job, and he was a popular sort of fella. He had a massive circle of friends, you know, and you know, I don't think I know anyone that can say a bad word about him. But it then made me realise that you can't just get on with things, and it sort of went from there for me, really. I think there's a comment going to be added into the conversation about the ball in the box. Now, the ball in the box is basically, if you've got a box, one side of the box has got a pain button as such, and the ball moves around the box, and it when it first happens and you're struggling to understand it and stuff, the ball is constantly hitting that pain button, and that's every day is a struggle, and I mean that. You know, when you lose your brother, it's a struggle. As time goes on, the ball becomes smaller and it hits the button less often. But when it hits the button, it causes the same amount of pain. It could be a song, it could be a birthday, it could be an anniversary, it could be a picture, it could be a film, it could be just a memory, or you know, Facebook memories pop up, or time hop or whatever. So there's that sort of side of it. And then there's the ripple effect that happens after. So when he took his own life, it was like dropping a stone in a pond. So you have the splash as such when you drop the pebble, and it then causes like a ripple effect. So it affects his family, his friends, his children, and it spreads out far and wide. It's hard to understand unless you've been there, or unless you watch the videos that Corey's going to kindly add into the comments, either at the beginning or at the end, for people to understand that. and that was hard. It still is hard, to be fair, but I had to bury my emotions for fear of upsetting my own children, or them seeing me cry, and that didn't help. I didn't want anyone seeing me weak. I took about 5 months off of work, and I struggled to come to terms with it. But you know, I'm there now. The effect it had on my parents was unbelievable. Now, my mum and dad have been separated for a number of years. You know, they've both moved on. They've both, got new lives for themselves and stuff. But seeing them having not talked for a number of years, even at my brother's wedding, my dad didn't go because of the breakdown of the relationship and stuff. But seeing them standing at his graveside, holding hands, crying into each other, was probably the most painful thing I've ever had to see in my life. And that image, now, as much as it was painful, it was also quite endearing to find that they'd found comfort in their grief. And that, in a way, gave me comfort. It sounds weird and a bit twisted, if you like, but it did. So there's that sort of side of it. And then there was the effect it had on his children. So he had a stepdaughter who was 13 or 14 at the time. I'm sure I'll be corrected if I've got it wrong. But even to this day, she still struggles with that image because it happened and she saw it. And she turned to self-harm herself. Again, people might not, I might get comments and backlash from various people who hear this, but she struggled with it. And his children are ultimately going to grow up without their dad. I know they visit the grave regularly. They always leave flowers and stuff. But yeah, they struggled. And then there's the effect it had on my own relationships, with friends. I became a hermit. It affected my marriage, which has now ultimately led to me being divorced. I just stopped caring about anything, and I become a bit of a hermit. I didn't go out, I didn't socialise, I didn't go to work, and all my relationships broke down. It was tough. It was really, really, really tough. And there's parts of me now that look back and think, could I have done things differently? But at the time, I couldn't control what I was doing, what I was saying, how I was treating people. It affected a lot of people. And in the end, I spoke to somebody and I said, "You need help," because the only thing at that point, and I think Gonzo mentioned something similar when he was telling his story 2 weeks ago, that the only thing that stopped me from doing anything to myself, because I couldn't deal with the grief, was the thought of my parents having to go through burying another one of their children again. And that really, really hurt me, but it also inspired me to pull myself out of what I was going through. So I spoke to a counsellor, and he was the one that explained about the ball in the box, the ripples, and then the dark dog, the black dog of depression, which is where I learned a lot of lessons, not only about myself, but about grief, depression. My understanding of it became a lot clearer, and I had the realization that it is a real thing, and it was a harsh lesson to learn. And I learned it in the hardest possible way. It's still with me now. The grief for my brother is still with me now, but it's not any smaller. But because I've moved on, not moved on, that sounds wrong, but because I've sort of rebuilt myself, I've changed my job role, I've changed my circle of friends, I've changed my relationships with not only my partner but also with my children. I've rebuilt relationships with my children as well, and that helps. And I try to keep myself busy, because the worst thing about the depression that not that I'm suffering, because I don't feel that I suffer with depression. I feel that I'm struggling with grief, But if I can occupy myself, whether that's work or DIY or running or cycling or anything like that, it blocks that out as such. But again, anything can trigger it. It could be a drink, a cup of tea, a meal, a photo, or anything like that. Like I say, so there is that sort of side of it. But then I had to be honest with myself to start off with, to be able to move on and rebuild my life and carry on as the guy that I was before my brother's suicide. Was I had to be honest with myself, and I had to turn around and say to people, I can't cope. I'm not coping with this. I'm genuinely not coping. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to get out of bed and stuff like that. And then that's when I realised that I did need help. So like I say, I went to see a counsellor, a grief counsellor, and it was good. And then I opened up to a lot of people as well. Maybe it was too late in some. Well, it was too late in some circumstances, and some people had the same attitude as I did prior to my brother's suicide of just get on with it. Just pull your socks up and move on. You know, it's done, it's dusted, it's gone. But you can't unless you've been there. You can't. So there's that sort of side of it. And then I guess even now, moving on, there's days that I think about my brother a lot. Being on my own is a massive thing. When I'm on my own company, it's hard, really, really hard. But yeah, I'd say I'm getting there. But it's not done. It's not dusted. It never will be, because you never get over the grief of losing your brother or your family members or a loved one or a partner or whoever you've built a relationship with. But you learn that there's other things that can not expel the pain, but dilute the pain maybe a little bit, or move the pain away. So it changed my opinions on mental health massively, like I said, and it learnt me to be more understanding of other people's issues. Now, my role that I do for my job, I can't speak too much about it, but it helps me understand other people who are going through it. And whereas 5, 6 years ago, I would have turned around and gone, do you know what, just get on with it, move on. And now I try to support, I try to help, I listen. That's the best thing you can do. If you know anyone that's going through it, you don't have to do anything majorly. Just listen. If they want to vent, if they want to cry, if they want to hug, they want to talk to somebody, just be that somebody. Be that somebody that they can talk to and that they can approach, and they can tell you that they're not able to deal with their emotions or their situations that they're in. And I know that Gonzo, Grant, that we spoke to a couple of weeks ago, he said the same sort of thing. Speaking to strangers helped him. It gets you out of that hole, but there's always the point of where you could take a wrong step and you're back in that hole. So it's difficult to manage that sort of thing. But now, moving forward, I'll always love my brother. I'll always miss my brother, but I don't think he would want me to feel that my life's not worthy of carrying on. I certainly wouldn't want to put my parents through what they went through with my brother's passing. I've got a fantastic partner who knew my brother, which helps. That helps a lot, because when I am feeling a bit down or whatever, we can talk about memories of my brother, good memories of my brother, and that. And then obviously I've got my work to focus on, my children, and I've got a great circle of friends around me that are supportive and that from there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't dispel mental health, because it is a real thing, and I'm the most biggest advocate for understanding mental health. Speak to people, reach out, man up is the wrong phrase to use. Speak up is the phrase you should use. Talk to people, like I say. And for fear of being repetitive, I don't think there's really much more to say on it. But if you are struggling, there's various numbers that you can talk to, and you can always drop me a line, drop me a message. you know, whatever you want to do. And yeah, I hope that I've enabled people to understand what it feels like to be a victim of suicide, and ultimately that's what I am, a victim of suicide. So, you know, thanks for taking the time to listen. I'll hand you back to Martin, who's going to do a little chat. And if there's any questions, if there's anyone wants to say anything or comment or whatever, then go with that. And then just quickly, I know Martin or Corey's going to go into it a bit more depth. We're doing some walks and stuff to inspire people to raise money to help out on the suicide awareness lines and Calm 84, which is our team. This side, sorry, camera's backwards. And then £8 man's a phone call, and that phone call could ultimately save someone's life and stop not only that person taking their life, but also someone being in my position where every day could potentially be a battle. And I mean that every day is a battle. So I'll hand you back to Martin, and like I say, thanks for listening. I hope that wasn't too short, Martin. And I've said what you sort of required me to say.
Hello, Robert. Well done, mate. I know that you know must have been really difficult for you, mate. And you know we've had conversations before. You know, we done, for those that don't know, we done a presentation to the Armed Forces last Monday, and Rob come on and done that, his presentation to him, and I've had such good feedback from you know what he's just said, and also Grant done his story as well. And you know, I can't imagine how hard it is for both you guys to do what you've done, Rob. And you know, I just want to say well done and thank you for doing that in hope of, you know, reaching out to one person. We always say that if we can save one, then it was worth it. Everything was worth it. You know, so you know, just thanks again, mate. And I know I certainly appreciate you doing so. There's not a lot of people to step forward and talk so deeply about their lives, and you know, but you're doing it for others, and that's how you've sort of found the strength to do it. And you know, and I can only commend you for that. We've got a few questions, obviously, if you don't mind answering. We've got we're going to stick Grant. We're going to stick Grant on the line. The man, here he is. I'm going to unmute him. Got sensitive earphones.
Sorry about the undone me or whatever's on the TV.
That's all right.
Yeah. How do you feel after doing that, Rob? How daunting is it to talk about that?
It's daunting, but I know that it is daunting. But I know that anyone that's taken the time to listen, I'm grateful for. But also, if there's one person out there that's struggling and they've listened to that, like you said, Glons, the other week, if one person is struggling and they've listened to that and thought, oh no, I can fight through this, then it's worthwhile. You know, it is hard to open up to people. Some of my nearest and dearest don't even know how I'm feeling. So
yeah. So that is, you also think about,
what more can I say?
Upsetting, didn't you? Upsetting people as well with whatever you say, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, there is, because there's people in the situation. You know, my own parents, my own family members, and my brother's children that are still struggling to come to terms with it to this day. But if them seeing me open up and realise that there is light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, because my life's changed massively since my brother passed. Like, everything in my life's changed. Every element of my life has changed, and that's because I found strength in my grief, and rather than thinking about losing my brother, I sort of focused on what would my brother want me to do, what would make my brother happy. And the biggest thing was rekindling a partnership with someone who my brother knew and held very dearly. So yeah,
That's lovely.
That's good.
I guess
That's lovely.
That's pretty much where I am with that.
That's
That's
lovely.
good.
Can I just ask mine, Rob? I just want to know, probably from a bit of a selfish point of view, how was like doing this, what you're doing now? I know it's really difficult, but how has that sort of helped you You know, in terms of how you're getting on now. How is that? You know, is that helping you sort of day by day, knowing that now you're actively, you know, part of something that can literally, you know, is there to save lives? How's that affecting you being a part of what we're doing?
Well, there's two answers to that, Mark. Firstly, like I say about the ball in the box, it's another thing to occupy me so that the ball doesn't hit the pain button.
Yeah,
There's that side of it, but then there's also the other side of it is that I wouldn't want anyone who's watching this, anyone at all, really, to be in the situation that I was in. I mean, I remember driving along the A2, coming back from the weekend down at the Isle of Sheppey, and thinking, and an Adele song come on that was played at his funeral, and thinking, I might just drive into the fucking barrier here.
yeah, can't
So
imagine that.
speaking about it is good because it might help someone else not think about taking their own life, but then it also helps me because it makes that ball in the box smaller and it hits it less often. And I suppose actually a third thing is helping others is what we're all about. And you know, whether they're friend or colleagues or employees or a friend of a friend or family or whatever, if you help them, then you've done your bit. My brother hasn't taken his own life in vain because I've stopped 1, 2, 3, 4 people taking their own life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's amazing, mate. I mean, as I said, like with what we're trying to do as you know, as people. I mean, I've known you for a long time. A lot of the boys have known you for a long time. We've all, you know, we always say we played football together for a long time. But anyone who knows you, especially a few boys in the team, will vouch for that. You're always like this anyway. Like before Calm 84, you are the person to, if you can get someone a job, if you can help them out, if you can lend them a garden tool, if you can come around and help someone with a garden and have a, you know what I mean? Like you've always been that guy before this. So it wasn't like you've come to this and decided to help people. You're quite, you know, you take that role in work. You know, you're always the one, you know, obviously people come to you, you know, and you always take a personal, view of things. Like one of the lads you've helped out quite a lot and helped change his life. You didn't know him from Adam. You knew him probably 2 or 3 times, and he's a lovely kid. He's just actually commented. He's a lovely kid, and you didn't know him from Adam, and you've helped him, and he's even expressed to me how much you've helped him. And the most amazing part of that is you didn't know who he was. You know, you didn't. You just saw someone. You know, and you do what you normally do. So I just want to just make it clear that you were helping people a long time before Calm 84. So this obviously is just an extension of that and gives you more of a scope, doesn't it?
Again, it's not just about I don't want anyone to go through what I've been through or my family have been through, but also it's about investing my time into somebody to occupy my own time. So quite selfish. It could come across as quite a selfish thing, and I'm not ashamed of that. But if I've got vested interest in somebody, or I'm spending my time in somebody or whatever, it's a diversion. And like I say, I keep reverting back to the ball in the box, or like I was trying to explain to my boss yesterday because he was asking me about tonight's presentation and another time. So there's the other analogy of the grief. So you got the grief of my brother is like a circle. Yeah, that circle will always remain the same size. What then you've got another circle outside of that. So if you're occupying yourself, helping others and all that, that circle expands. The grief of my brother is still the same size, but
Yeah,
the circle outside of that expands. So it doesn't come in and it doesn't become not relevant, but because you're so preoccupied with, and even my boss said to me, sometimes I wonder how you do it because you go to work, then you go home, you do gardening, you're doing DIY, or you're going out for lunch, or you're doing this, you're doing that, and you're always occupied. And I'm always occupied, whether it's helping somebody or keeping myself
yeah,
busy, purely because if that circle starts to shrink, I know I'm going to struggle.
yeah. So you keep yourself
It's hard to understand.
distracted, don't you? It's
unless you, yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean,
we promote that, don't we?
if I'm not distracted and I'm in my own company, yeah. Distraction is a massive technique, but it's learning to distract it, but distract things, but also not lose the focus of where you need to go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
positive
my brother,
distraction.
if my brother was still alive now, he'd be so proud. Yeah, of course. Yeah. If my brother saw me now, I know he'd be proud, and that's what I inspire to do. I inspire to make my parents proud, my family proud, my children proud, and all of that. But ultimately, my main thing is to make my brother proud. Now, there's a few of the boys, they might comment, a couple of my cousins, a couple of my pals, and all that. Every year around my brother's anniversary, pre-lockdown, we go out to Ireland, and we do exactly what my brother would want us to do. We get pissed, we have a laugh, we pass out, we wake up the next day, and we go again. And then what we do is we go down to the graveside, and we tell him what we've been up to, or we tell him what we do, or what we've done, and all of that. And some of the stories from the island trips are they're fantastic. They're memories. I mean, my first holiday away with my own son was my brother's anniversary.
Yeah.
So that's not only helped build that relationship with my son, because I wasn't there for him as he grew up, but then as a young man, I've taken him away, and even he turned around and said, the circumstances we've come out here is terrible. However, the memories that we've made are fantastic, because we've done exactly what we would do if your brother, like his uncle, had been alive. So it's good in that sense, but yeah, it's quite it's weird. It is weird. Now I've learned to control it.
Yeah,
I actually use it to inspire myself and others.
Yeah, I think what I wanted.
That's probably the honest answer.
I think what you saying about making your brother proud. I know I can speak for everyone in the team saying how proud we are of you, and as well with Grant. Putting you've put your complete soul on the table. There's no bigger sort of sacrifice, put your whole soul on the table and in front of people to try and help people, to show people that you can get through regardless of going through some of the worst circumstances you can go through as a human. And you both are clawing your way out and learning to deal with it in different ways. And as far as making your brother proud, mate, you certainly make us proud. And it's the most amazing thing what you guys have done. I just want to go pop back to Gods and just ask Gods, hearing Rob's story for the second time now, is there familiarity in hitting the bottom, and is there familiarity, although your stories are different, coming out of it, how you've had to sort of use distraction, reach out to people, make connections? Because I know you, Grant, have obviously had to make connections, new connections that you really hold dear to yourself now, like with your football team and stuff. Is there familiarities in that way?
There are familiarities in the sense of the distraction. The difference, I'd say the difference is that how you, like Rob says, you have the ball and the whole bigger ball around it, you make it, the bigger it is. But I also had triggers. So obviously my triggers were walking down the street, and if I see a car crash or something like that. So there's slight different triggers. Or even just seeing any sort of accident or I remember you'll find it funny. I remember sitting in, because we was allowed to play when I was in prison, we was allowed to go and play in a local league. I remember sitting in the back of the van, and there's this geezer just like broad as daylight, got like out on the phone, just driving his car. I'm just thinking, fucking hell, like that was a trigger.
Yeah, because it's something that you've experienced. That was a part of your grief, wasn't it? It was your trauma.
So my question is there anything that triggers you that you know of
Yes. Yes.
And if so, have you spoke to someone how to deal with your triggers?
So my trigger is my triggers is Adele songs, and then you remember that song "Dance with My Father." You know the song
Yeah.
Yeah,
"Dance with My Father."
Luther Vandross.
I can't listen to
Luther
that.
Vandross.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that
I
song
can't
well.
listen to that because they played that at his funeral, and because he had children, obviously.
Hmm.
So that's my trigger. So, but when I spoke to somebody about it, and I did speak to somebody about it, Grant, they said if you're feeling, so they done the opposite of what your guy said, and it worked for me. What might work for me might not work for somebody else. So
Yeah, of course.
if I'm feeling a bit sketchy or whatever, rather than bottle that up till it comes to a point of where I have a breakdown and I go off work for a month or whatever, my trigger is to play that song or the Adele song and sit in a room on my own and just cry and get it out, get the
Yeah.
emotions out there. Done. It's done.
Well done.
And
mate.
then I can carry on as I normally would. So that was my trigger. I didn't let my trigger take over my life. I took control of my trigger. Like I say, you got your triggers and what you do with yours and how you manage yours. That's your thing. My thing is rather than let that trigger control me, I control it. So I think I'm really missing my brother today. Really, really missing my brother. And my mum's house, she's got photos all around the place. She's got the funeral program up on the wall and all of that. And I sit there and sometimes I look at it and I think, I'm really missing him today. He'd love what we're doing now. He'd love this. He'd love to see him. My son bought a new car yesterday. My brother would have loved that. And that hurts. So, and then my other brother, he's on about buying my son's old car off of him for his daughter. And I think, Sean would have bought that. Sean would have done this. Sean would have done that. So I play the song because then I know that them 4 minutes I've got to myself and I can bawl my eyes out, I can cry, I can do whatever I want to do. And then I can carry on with my day rather than let the emotions take over my day. I control them, I get them out of the way, done, dusted, and move on. So there's that sort of side of it.
So you go on head
sense.
on.
Like I say, God,
You face them head on.
Yeah, I do, and that's probably it's a different technique to what Grant uses, but different people, unless different situations and different people, different triggers. Unless you learn to control them, you can end up in despair. So Grant does his thing with his triggers, and my situation is different from Grant. Though, Grant was a series of unfortunate incidents. Mine was someone took their own life, and I suffered as the consequence of that. So I'm a different side of the spectrum to Grant. So that's maybe why I deal with them differently to what Grant does.
Well, Grant was a victim of his own.
I think I've worded that.
Grant was a victim of his own.
No, you worded it right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Grant was a victim of his own actions, and he has to deal with, and he deals with
his own circumstance.
Yeah, and he deals with his guilt and how he feels about everything, but he deals with himself. But then, obviously, with you were a victim of
Grant,
someone else's actions, weren't you?
Yeah, and I think that word you used there, and I don't want to speak badly of Grant because I love him to pieces, and I said I wouldn't do this tonight if Grant weren't on it with me.
You did.
So, like I say, Grant's got to deal with his guilt. Yeah, Grant's issues, and I'm not, if I'm speaking out of turn, Grant, please butt in and tell me. But Grant's issues are the guilt. Yeah, Grant's issues are guilt, and the consequences that led to where he found himself.
He's not.
Yeah. It's a series of unfortunate incidents that led to where he is. Whereas with me, I'm on the other side of it, where it was someone else's circumstances and someone else's incidents that led me to where I am. So I can manage mine differently to Grant.
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember my first date with Michelle, my new partner, or my old partner, but now my new partner. My first date with Michelle was to go and see A Star Is Born. And the closing scene of A Star Is Born is he hangs himself in the garage, and that's how my brother took his
Yeah.
own life. So for me, that was heartbreaking. And I
Did that
loved
hit you
being with
that
her,
night?
and it was a fantastic night. It killed me. She didn't even know, because she didn't even see it at that bit. I think she was bored of the film, or she didn't like it, or whatever. She might comment and say,
Oh, it's
"I
a great
didn't
film,
like it,"
though.
but she didn't understand the relevance of that scene. And I come out of there and I was bawling my lamps out. And I thought she may have thought, we haven't really spoke about it, but she may have thought that he's a bit of a softy, him, isn't he? Quite, he's changed in the 15 years or 20 years that I didn't
Soft
see him. He's
over a
changed,
movie.
a softy, him. Yeah, but it was that was my trigger at that point.
Yeah.
So then the next day, I had to listen to that song because it was bottling up. It was eating me inside, and I needed to proper cry. So I went home, and then the next day I listened to an Adele song or the Luther Vandross song. I can't remember which one it was, and I cried and I got it out of my system. And then, I took her to see Halloween, the Next Generation, the following week. So, karma and all that.
It's
But
that's horrible, mate. To hear that you've obviously gone for a lovely, first date and that, and then just shows that the triggers can sort of pop up from wherever, can't they? Corey, question. I know you've got a question for Rob. We haven't heard from Corey tonight, and it's been 38 minutes in. Hello, Corey.
Hello. So firstly, just want to say well done, Rob, for sharing your story. And well done to both of you, in fact, because obviously we all know it's hard to come out and do this, and you've both well and truly proven to everyone that it is okay to talk. So well done to the both of you, and hopefully people will see this and it will encourage them to talk. I do have a question for you, Rob. I'm not sure how it's going to come out, but the question I've got is, with the experiences that you've been through, has it given you a sort of ability to recognize when someone is suffering from mental health or depression? And if so, has your experiences given you the confidence to be able to help that person and point them in the right direction?
Only the people that have suffered that and that I've helped would be able to answer that honestly, because whether I've been a benefit to them or not, I wouldn't know. The fact that they're still alive or they haven't taken their own life or whatever, I would assume says yes. As far as the second part of your question, which was how do you help people, like I said in my thing, is just listen. And like Grant said a couple of weeks ago, when he was in the pub and he bumped into two random fellas and they just listened. Just listen to somebody, and that's what Calm 84 is about. It's about the phone calls and all that. So I'm not trying to listen. I want to raise as much money as possible and get everyone signed up to the Strava. But ultimately, whether you sign up or not, if you've got friend, family, colleague, employee, employer, and you listen to them, that's the biggest thing. Just listen. If someone wants to talk, don't shoot them down. Because if you shoot them down, then you don't know what the consequences could be from that. And like Grant said, when he spoke to Ben, and I remember the name of the fella, he spoke to Ben in a pub. And he told Ben that he was struggling, but he loves his football and all that. And that Ben helped him. So Ben listened. So ultimately, and I Grant can comment on this if he wants, but ultimately,
No, it weren't Ben.
Potentially saved
It was
Grant's
Adam.
life. It was Ben.
No,
Adam
it was
and Ben, you said?
Ben was there. No, it was Adam and Danny Fife that
Ben
I spoke
was there.
to.
See, I know.
Ben was there. He was the one giving me grief about me Barnet. But yeah, you was very.
I knew there was a Ben in
You
there.
remembered the smallest person there. Literally.
Well, I'm only 5'5", so height's not an issue for me.
It's a small.
No, but like I say, it is like you said, like you said, just being able to speak to somebody, whether it be friend or foe or stranger or whatever, the fact that you could spend that hour, half hour, 10 minutes draining them, maybe, or whatever, that got that off your chest and then helped you move forward in your own battles. And that's the thing, Gore. So as part of my job role, we have to do managerial employee training and health awareness. I can't remember the wording that they use, but we do a employee wellness type course, and we have to do it every year. And then that helps you understand triggers, but I knew triggers from my own experiences, and then listening to Grant as well. So there's that side of it, but the fact that they still come into work the next day, or they're still putting photos on Facebook and all of that. You know, I've had people over the last couple of days on my Facebook that they're struggling with bits and pieces, and I always drop them a message. Listen, always here if you want to talk, and that's all you can do. You could just offer to listen. They might talk absolute garbage, but they've got it off their chest. They've got their issues out in the open, and someone's listened to. Someone's taken the time to listen to them, and I can't give them the answers that they might need. You know, I can't. If they say they're short of money, I can't turn around and go, "Oh, well, there's 15 grand, or there's a load of money, or whatever." Go and help yourself. But just the fact that they've got that initial, I'm really struggling with this, or I'm really struggling with that, and they've managed to get that out of the way with. So yeah, just listen to people. If you want to help someone, listen to them.
We were. That's so true, mate. I mean, we were talking. I mean, saying that we've also across the bottom banner, we've obviously got quite a lot of numbers that you can also ring if you find yourself needing to, you know, some emergency sort of numbers. What I want to say is that, you know, we promote obviously distraction and talking, even if it's just listening to someone. We always try and promote it as much as we can. Part of our distraction we offer is, you know, getting part of our challenges, which is getting people out of the house and trying to stay physical, you know, and the physical benefits, the mental health benefits are amazing for getting out and getting moving. So as long as, you know, as far as what Rob's saying about, you know, just listen, you know, that could be the difference between, you know, two completely different outcomes. You know, and it's really, really difficult. Rob, we've got a couple of comments in here, mate. Really lovely comments in here. Like Monkey News 87 from off of YouTube said, "Well done for opening up, Rob." We've got Emma Briggs saying, "Well done, Rob." Mitchell Lee, "Well done for speaking out, Rob. It takes a lot." Michelle, you're Michelle. Well done. Not easy to talk about, but you did it. That took courage. Loads of hearts.
To be fair, I'm gonna jump in there. To be fair, Michelle don't even know this, but it was the changing my circumstances and building new relationships. It was Michelle, because Michelle knew my brother. Michelle treated my brother like her own brother. She was like a mum to him.
Okay.
And Michelle was a massive part of me realising that my life was worth living. Apart from my parents, and not putting my parents through that again, bearing another son.
Of course.
Michelle's been a massive support on it. Sometimes we might just have a glass of wine or maybe a bottle or two, and we just sit there and we talk about my brother. And she, I don't want to give her too much praise because she'll think I'm trying to creep up for a night over or something. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But no, Michelle and my son coming away with me to Ireland was massive.
Yeah,
that was a massive thing, and that's saying that my brother would have been so proud of. And he always said to me, "You're with the wrong one. You should have stayed with Michelle, and you need to sort things out with Trav." And he always said that to me, even on my wedding day. He said that to me. "Why are you marrying her? You're clearly not in love with her." So yeah, Michelle, you know.
Yeah,
I'll publicly thank Michelle, because she did help me out a lot. You know, all my family love her to pieces anyway. But she's a good egg.
Lovely. And she's you've got Danny Webb, well done, Rob, with hearts. Danny Jones, well done, Rob, with hearts. Liam Goodman, he jumped in obviously when I was saying about, you know, how helpful you are to people. He said 100% with that one. And then we've got Ray W. I work with Rob and he has helped me a lot. You also got a couple on that hasn't come up on here. from I believe it's a cousin. I don't know where it is now, but it's all really positive, Rob. With what you're getting back from this, man. I know being the comments was one of the things that you're particularly worried about, and you've been nothing but genuine, mate, and to talk about your truth, and that's what I said to you earlier. No one can tell you your truth is wrong, and your experience is wrong, and you've shared that with us in hope to help other people. Core, do you just want to talk about the Strava to people next 48 hours and that?
Yeah, no problem. So quite recently, quite a lot, especially over the news and everything, we've been hearing that mental health and mental fitness are obviously they're now becoming a massive thing, especially with this lockdown. So we set up a challenge starting from the 1st of March, which is march around the world in 84 days. So you can walk, run, cycle. We have a total mileage to meet between all participants of 24,901 miles. That is between all participants. So whether you contribute 1 mile, 50 miles, or 100 miles, every mile counts. We need to get as many people as we can on it. And for the next 48 hours, it's free sign up. It is a free sign up for the next 48 hours, but obviously any donations we do much appreciate. All you have to do is download the Strava app. You can contact one of us at Calm84FC if you want any more details. But download the Strava app and search for Calm84FC charity events on the clubs and request to join, and you'll be accepted in. Come and join us, and let's beat this together.
Thank you very much, Core. That's brilliant. Obviously, that goes out to Rob. You had another comment, Richard Coleman, saying thinking of you, mate. I really don't want to miss people's positive comments because, as I said, I know that the comments, we were on the phone late last night and the comments was something we were marshalling. We were about to turf people out. We had a couple of bouncers turfing people out the comments ready, but actually we've not had to turf anyone, mate. And it's all been super positive. And everyone really appreciative of you coming on and telling your story. Obviously, that goes out to all Rob's, everyone, who's watching for to support Rob tonight. If this has struck a chord with anyone who's watching and you want to donate, please leave his name in the comments just so we know, that it's to do with him and to do with what he's done tonight. And yeah, please come and join the Strava, even if you could just do a mile in the entire 12 weeks, be part of the team. It would mean so much to us for you to do so. Rob, do you want to have a closing, some closing words before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'll do a couple of bits. So firstly, thank you to anyone who's given up their Sunday evening. I know Man United are beating Newcastle 3-1. So anyone who's missed the game,
no, you just even
apologies for that. Richard Coleman is one of the most nicest fellas in the world, and he's an area manager for Royal Mail. So if he can sign up some of the postmen for Strava tomorrow, that'd be massive. We'll smash the miles because the postmen work a lot. Ray W, should I say? That's a massive. That's a fantastic comment. So I appreciate that. Again, sign up to Strava, Ray. You'll be out on delivery tomorrow. But ultimately, the person I want to thank most is probably Gons, and that's why I asked him to come on tonight with the thing, because listening to his story a fortnight ago is what inspired me to grow the kahunas, if you like, to tell my story, because his story's raw. So, and I saw Grant.
You're welcome, mate.
In the pub. I saw Grant in the pub 3 weeks after my brother passed, and it was just after Grant had his incident. And
no, it weren't actually.
Nice
I just got out. Out of prison.
But it was 3 weeks after. Yeah, but it was just after my brother had passed. So I found a lot of strength in Grant, and I'd like to think that I've given a lot of strength to Grant. And then obviously thanks to Martin and Corey and anyone else who's thing. So there's a couple of people that have messaged me already. They've pinged me over some money, so you're going to see some donations going on. Any donations are greatly accepted. But if you don't want to donate, download the Strava app, like Corey said, get the miles in, and let's march around the world and help other people so that they don't feel how myself, Grant, my friends, family, and all that feel. And one life saved is a bonus. So thank you. And thanks for Martin and Corey for hosting such a fantastic evening. Thank you.
You're very welcome, mate. And just
You're welcome, Rob.
and again, thank
Well
you.
done, mate.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you for doing what you've done tonight, mate, and we all really appreciate it. Anyone wants to join up with our calls, Calm84 FC on Facebook, Calm84 FC on Instagram, Calm84 FC Twitter, and Calm84 TV on YouTube. Oh,
Can I just quickly say something before we go, Mark?
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly say that anyone watching or anyone that will watch this in the future, if any of the stories that you've heard here or have affected you in any way, or anyone that you know, then as these two have well and truly proven that it is okay to talk. So even if it's a stranger, your mum, brother, sister, or someone that you love, it is okay to talk. All right. That's all I really wanted to say.
Well done. If everyone watching this video, if you could give it a little share for us, sign up to the YouTube and hit the notifications. Soon we will be coming off of Facebook and only doing YouTube. So that would be something, we really need to start getting subscribers onto the YouTube. So if you can do that, guys, keep up with what we're doing. Thank you, Grant, tonight, mate, for coming on and supporting us and supporting Rob. Rob, thank you for your story, mate, being brave and that. And Core, as always, been a pleasure. And I'll see you guys
Thanks,
later on. Well done.
Well done, everyone. Good night.
Night, lads.